Hello and welcome to another West Ham review. This time a sad one because the Betway Cup is finished. Bournemouth 5, West Ham United 3. If you're wondering where Geo and Gonzo are, they're off gallivanting this weekend. So you're with myself and young Tom for the review very briefly because we've just done the live stream. Tom, yet another year without the Betway Cup. How do you feel?
Big disappointment. Big disappointment. It's always nice to win a bit of silverware, but unfortunately, we couldn't do that today. And I'm sure we'll get into the game in a second. But yeah, it was a disappointing game as well. So
Yeah, obviously coming off the back of last night and everything that's been happening over the last couple of days, it's difficult to find that sort of bounce, and we almost did at one point. But let's go through the goals. I mean, it started poorly. I can't lie to you. How did you feel about How did you feel about the lineup going into the game? Considering I felt like at least this was going to be one of the better indicators of how we would play this season and how we would set up.
yeah, we came out with that poor mentality, didn't we, for the first 26 minutes? It was just much of the same that we've seen the last few years, unfortunately, with in terms of the goals that we concede coming from down our fullbacks. It was Ben Johnson particularly obviously did not have a very good outing, we say, in the first 26 minutes to get hooked. But I guess there were certain positions and players that I didn't think should be playing certain roles that they should have done to start. And it was just it wasn't the greatest watch especially after the second half. There was a couple of players that I thought, specifically one that I'll mention who I thought was our best player on the pitch at the end of this. But yeah, it was not the greatest of outing today from the lads.
Yeah, I mean, you say people potentially out of position or where you wouldn't want to see them play. Anyone in particular you want to mention?
Fornals, I think. The sort of the role that he was playing to start the game, didn't agree with that. And also, obviously, seeing Antonio isolated out on the wing at times, not really getting much in the way of service. Yeah, it was just all round going forward. Unfortunately, for the 3 goals that we scored, there wasn't a lot happening up top. From sort of what you would say our main talisman. So yeah, it was a bit of a rough day up top.
Yeah, one of the concerns for me, I guess, is that we've had this problem of not being able to break teams down who defend. Basically, if you're a team who comes to face West Ham or who are hosting West Ham, and you sit in a sort of more defensive shape and don't really try to break out of that unless you're on the counter attack like Bournemouth played today, and we've seen other teams in the second half of last season when David Moyes was in charge, we can't seem to be able to break them down. We had the same problem under Pellegrini as well, to be fair, but we just can't seem to break them down. And the first 25-35 minutes of that was indicative of that today as well. So let's go through the goals. I mean, the first one came very early on. It was Dan Juma, I believe, is how you pronounce his name. I might be wrong about that. But he basically picked up the ball relatively near the halfway line, dribbled straight through the middle of both Antonio and Ben Johnson, started running directly at Diop, who was almost in his 6-yard box, clearly scared to take him down in case of a penalty, and sort of lets him with one little flick get through, and then he passed it beyond David Martin.
Yeah, I don't want to speak on sort of Ben Johnson's game today too much because, as I said during the watch along, I didn't agree with subbing him off, especially in a pre-season friendly after 26 minutes. But he did not look at the races today. He looked frustrated. People saying, he looked like he deliberately wanted to get sent off. I don't think necessarily he deliberately wanted to get sent off, but I think obviously probably there was a lot of frustration in that, especially after what happened last night. Maybe the young inexperience of him was, reacting to what happened last night. I don't want to speculate sort of too much, but he wasn't at the races today. Obviously, didn't track his man for the first couple of goals. Really, same for the rest of the defence. Diop, other defenders backing off, just allowing that space. Firstly to get in behind, and then secondly to allow the shot to go off. It was just. It was the kind of defending that we've known and we've seen the last couple of seasons. And what I will say is that conceding 5 goals, fair enough to a team that were relegated last year. Obviously, they've kept a lot of their sort of core players, you would say. If that's not the biggest glaring and worrying sign for the manager and the board going into the start of the season, that we need reinforcements in the defence, then I don't know what does. Because today, at times, especially the first 26 minutes and the last half an hour, it was abhorrent defending. We were absolutely woeful, and it's not the kind of performance that you want to see a week before going into a crunch game, a must-win game, you may say, against Newcastle, especially with our start to the season.
Yeah, second goal again, without mentioning Johnson, because I'll talk about him after. But Dominic Solanke scored after a pullback on the counter attack. They broke down our right hand side again after sitting deep. They break down, they absolutely fly forward Bournemouth attack with a lot of pace, and it pulled back for of all people Dominic Solanke, who I genuinely forgot existed before today, who ends up finishing it quite strongly past Martin. But again, that right hand side for us, we're all expecting horrendousness down the left all season, but yeah, that right hand side again sort of struggling before. A couple of minutes later, had one incredibly rash challenge from Ben Johnson, went flying in like he was trying to get red carded. He got taken off for Fredericks. I mean, it's a difficult one, like you say. Again, pre-season, I try not to judge people's performances too harshly because it is just about fitness. It is about getting up to speed again. But like you say, he didn't seem up to speed at all. He did not seem at the races. He got hooked. I don't know why. I've tried to look on Twitter. I haven't seen if X has said anything yet or anyone else. I've checked Sean, I've checked X, I've checked some other people just to see if anyone's mentioned whether he got taken off for injury purposes or because of his poor performance. But he wasn't good, and I am concerned about that. Right. I guess the question for me, I'd have just to avoid sort of speaking about Ben Johnson specifically, Tom, would be: how concerned are you about the right hand side now?
Well, I don't want to judge Ben Johnson too harshly on one game, and at the end of the day, it's pre-season. It's not good. It's not great. And don't get me wrong. It started with him down that right hand side to be getting beaten. But it also the buck and the blame lies with the defence as well, because don't forget that both goals when they came, the defence. There was no real intent almost that we saw to stop or block or get in the way of or to disrupt. They passed the ball what felt like into the net a couple of times today, and obviously there were a few screamers that they did score, but it was the ease that they got inside of our box to just basically pass it around our back four, unfortunately. And look, at the end of the day, I don't want to again judge, because we all said Ngakia or Johnson was going to be our new right back this season, and I still think he is a good young player and he has time to develop and time to grow. But if he wasn't injured and they took him off for the fact that we were 2-0 down or whatever, then I'm slightly aggrieved at the decision to do that, because I think the kid's got to learn, and I think a game like that, pre-season specifically, is the time to do it. And if it is anything to do with last night and what happened, then I completely sympathise with him. But yeah, maybe he just showed his naivety there, unfortunately, for the first couple of goals. And
he was up against probably Bournemouth's best player, both in the game and probably in general as well. But then the game did swing again. It did swing back. With another substitution, but this time a youth player coming on. Josh Cullen came on for an injured Manuel Lanzini, who hobbled off. I don't know what his problem is. Again, we'll see how serious that is. But Cullen seemed to change the game. He very quickly got an assist, played a beautiful through ball, incisive through ball, straight through the middle of Bournemouth defenders to Jared Bowen, who flicks it over the goalkeeper to make it 2-1.
Yeah. For me, again, I don't want to, completely ruin my man of the match stuff for us, but I think Josh Cullen completely changed the game for us when he came on. Those sort of 15 minutes before half time, or 10 minutes before half time, I thought he was absolutely superb. Both in his delivery with his crosses, obviously the second assist that he got for Bowen's goal, but like you said, the incisiveness to make that deft pass through Bournemouth's sort of back line, very intelligent, and He looked good. He looked good. I'm slightly worried. I'm glad that he's staying around the first team. I think we both wanted him to see in the last couple of years. He's not had that, unfortunately. However, the worrying thing is our squad is looking dangerously thin now. And if Lanzini, hopefully it's just a niggle, but players going down in the last game before pre-season, everything's going on, players are being sold and all that sort of stuff. Our squad's getting dangerously thin, and that's a big worry for us.
And then he got a second assist again very quickly after, 4 minutes later, on the 42nd minute, for another Bowen goal. You're going to have to tell me what happened here, because I went to the toilet.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic ball again from as Irish Tommy said in in our stream. It was a lovely arched ball back across,
Mm.
lofted over the defence into the box and landed on a plate for Jarrod Bowen, who gently or carefully nodded it down into the goal. Just being what we know he has been, a great poacher in and around that box, and managing to get him behind, the opposition's defence, and it was a lovely, well worked goal. I mean, we'll take it. And at 2-2 at half time, you thought, okay, look, we're starting to get into the game now. The momentum is shifting a little bit. We're starting to look a bit more compact and a bit more, useful going forward. And unfortunately, we just couldn't replicate that in the second half. So no, but
I mean, yeah.
fantastic.
So just let's speak about it specifically. Half time. How did you feel?
Like I said, the last 10 minutes before half time, very promising. A lot better. And again, I don't want to say that we looked better as soon as Fredericks came on, because it wasn't the case. It was after Lanzini went off that Cullen provided that little spark that we needed. So yeah, for me, we looked okay. I mean, obviously going at half time, I wasn't the happiest of the blokes in the world, but 2-2, you'll take it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a weird thing to say you take it. I mean, again, I don't try to judge people too harshly on preseason performances, but it was a case where Bournemouth were very good, I felt, in the opening 45. I think we obviously helped them out to an extent, but I do think they were good. They were compact. They held their shape very well when they were defending with their backs against the wall. They did, for the first 35 specifically, they were very good. And then they counterattacked very well. And so to get two sort of seemingly out of nowhere, both Cullen to Bowen goals, I was happy with. I felt, do you know what? I'll take it. We'll go into this. We could do something here. If we step to them a little bit, we could do something. But it didn't. It didn't go that way. 58 minutes. You have Dominic Solanke sort of trying to make something happen in the box, can't quite do it, gets it to he ends up going out wide, takes the shot from an insane angle to take a shot at, pings off the post under pressure from David Martin, who's left the goal wide open at this point. Phil Billing, who's had the ball, couldn't quite get it from underneath him. Again, this is sounding bitty and difficult because it was Bournemouth couldn't get a shot away, a decent shot away. Diop gets a good foot in on a challenge on Phil Billing, but it comes to Dan Gosling, who on the edgy area hits an absolute pile driver, barring in Tom, and it was 3-2.
Yeah, came from Sebastian Haller losing the ball. Whether you want to sort of, I guess, blame him for that, I don't know. But yeah, again, defensive frailties. Just, and to be fair, I reckon again, if Souček and Rice were playing, I think that defensive know-how and ability to sort of be in the right place at the right time, I think they would have broken that up. And again, I think this is why we must say, like, we don't want to judge too harshly on pre-season performances, because we weren't at full strength. And like I said, I think if Rice and or Souček were there, I think that whole instance, and or Fabianski in goal, it would have played out a lot differently. Obviously, David Martin didn't have the best of games today. But yeah, just the defence switched off and weren't really picking up what was happening. They all sort of crowded around Philip Billing, expecting to sort of, negate any sort of movement or any shot that he was about to have, and then completely switched off where Dan Gosling just hit an absolute worldie basically into the top bin. And yeah, there's nothing really that anybody could do about it because they'd all switched off at that point. So I think they're just the most annoying thing today is that it's more alarming than anything to see some of the way in which the goals in which we concede alarm me. Especially, like I said before, with the defensive frailties that we've got going into this season, this has to be a wake-up call to the ball or the manager that we need some defensive reinforcements going into the next week.
Yeah, and then the right-hand side, another problem again. We'll go through the next two quickly. I think like you had Smith, I believe Adam Smith. I don't know his first name. I think it's Adam. On our right-hand side, cuts in and then just outside the area hits an absolute. Hits a good drive into our bottom right-hand corner. I think Martin potentially gets a touch on it but can't stop it. It's in, and then in the 67th minute, Anthony, who I don't know, I've never heard of before, but Anthony, the Bournemouth player, hit an absolute screamer into the top right-hand corner, and then it sort of petered out from there. How does this? I guess how does it leave you feeling, given that was obviously a championship opposition? I said this during the stream. I felt like that was Bournemouth playing at potentially their higher capabilities, whereas we obviously weren't. But it's difficult in the context we have you know, the Diangana stuff going on in the background, the ball stuff going on in the background. So it's difficult to be anything other than pessimistic. But how do
Yeah.
you feel about the potential, the upcoming season now, the potential of the upcoming season after today's game?
It was already sort of a little bit worrying before last night. Excuse me, I do apologise.
It's all right. You're on it out, bro. You're on it out.
I was a little bit pessimistic going in before last night happened. Then last night happened, it almost just feels like the wheels have come off in the last 24 hours. And we've got to be seriously careful, especially with the way that the players have spoken up as well. It just doesn't look good from top to bottom, manager, players, everything. It just, there's no unity. It doesn't seem really at the club. So, and I know someone mentioned, I think it was Clayton there in the live chat saying blame the defence, but not much effort with the 6 players in front of us. And I think that is true to an extent, obviously. Apart from, I guess, Jarrod Bowen or Cullen, it was a pretty poor showing from everybody out there today. But I just, with what's happening in the last 24 hours and then to see the performance like this, obviously, there are a lot of players out there today look like they could give a toss to be playing out there. And I would have expected that. I would have expected to see that, especially after last night. Players just didn't look interested. They didn't look like they were at the races, and we got our backsides handed to us for that exact reason.
Yeah, it's not much different from what I've seen previously. Disappointingly, my bigger concern is that I don't want to lead too hard into individual performances, but Ben Johnson was not good. We know what Fredericks can do. We know what Fredericks is about. I'm not super keen on him, and then to see Ben Johnson have a very poor game and not for the first time does concern me. The only reason I sort of not let him off, but sort of stay calm about it, is the fact that he's young. He's going to make these mistakes, and so if he was taken off because of that, as opposed to injury, that's concerning to me, because although we can't really afford to have any sort of holes in our defence, even though our defence is one massive hole the vast majority of the time, especially down the left, I don't want to have to think about us having to sort out the right-hand side at the same time. I don't think Ben Johnson is going to come in and be this world beater of a right-back. He's not going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold, but I was hoping for someone to be a little bit more solid than at least Fredericks, and today we didn't see that. And I guess that's my concern is, formationally, it's what I expected. Tactics-wise, it's what I expected. I didn't know what to expect from Bournemouth. Obviously, they've just lost their manager, or they've just changed their manager as opposed to lost. And they look decent. They look decent. I thought they were compact when they needed to be. They counterattacked very effectively. I thought they would come out and be maybe a bit more free-flowing or whatever as they were in the Premier League, but this is a different side of Bournemouth that I haven't seen, and I thought they were decent. And when we face teams like that, we never do well. We never ever do well, and that will be a continuing theme throughout the season. But yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. Before we get to the last 2 questions, I've got 2 more questions for you, Tom. Make sure if you are new around here to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed. We do appreciate it. Thank you as well to everyone who joined for the live watch along, as well as this. Geo and Gonzo will be back doing all of the stuff pre-match, of course, before the Newcastle game, and everything else during the week. They will return. It's just this weekend they're away, having a little bit of a break before the season starts. I wish I could have one. I'm not saying anything. They can't see. They can't. Hang on. There you go. Just concerning.
I've kidnapped him.
Tom, last 2 questions. First one is man of the match for today.
Felipe Anderson as well. Don't forget the goal.
Oh, he scored. Yes, of course. Felipe Anderson scored. Sorry, I was so busy being depressed that I forgot. Felipe Anderson scored with from a corner. Great header in the near post. Excellent header, in fact, right into the top. From a very tight angle, he managed to the cross comes in. He sort of gets one of those deflected headers, and it ends in the top corner, unstoppable in a sense. I didn't expect it from him.
Yeah, completely unmarked at the near post. Fantastic header. And it was a well worked goal, I guess. But again, how many times is Felipe Anderson going to be left unmarked at the near post in a Premier League match? I don't think, if at all. If a side is switched on anyway, and the game was already gone at that point. But it was good to see him get on the score sheet. Obviously, I don't think he was on for long enough today. I expect that he probably will start next week especially with no Diangana.
Was it the headband? I feel like it was the headband.
It might have been the headband. It might have been
squeezing, keeping the pressure on in his brain. So the man of the match, Tom. First question. We've got 2 questions left. Man of the match.
It'd be a toss-up. I'm going to give it to 2 players. I'm man of the matches, just because I think they both did well, and that is Josh Cullen and Jarrod Bowen. I think they were the only 2 bright spots. Obviously, Jarrod Bowen is going to be so key for us this season. His goals may be the difference between staying up and going down, or in that relegation battle. And I think he's just so adept and so good, no matter where he's been. The way he manages to get in behind and always seem to be in the right place at right time, right poacher's mentality. He was brilliant for the goals that he took today, and it was Josh Cullen as well. Nice to see him come on. I said during the watch along, he's got to be careful because apparently, according to some, Geo and Gonzo didn't do much in pre-season, got 3 assists, but then Josh Cullen got 2 assists today, so he's got to be careful that he doesn't get sold as well. So
be careful, that's a dangerous.
And again, this is when people say we lost 5-3, how do you give a man of the match? It's more just, again, it's pre-season and they were crap, yes, but they were 2 bright spots, and that was Cullen and then Jarrod Bowen.
Yeah, I think I'd also say I think Fornals had an okay game at times. I thought he put in some decent work rate and played a couple of nice passes here and there. Wasn't anything groundbreaking, but was okay. I think Aaron Cresswell was fine again, far from good, but I wouldn't say he was actively bad. That could be because I was so concerned about the right back position that I didn't really think about it. But I don't think he was awful. But yeah, man of the match, I'd give to Josh Cullen. I really want to see him get his opportunity. He's been at the club for so long. And like Geo and Gonzo, he's gone out on loan. He's done very well. He's earned an opportunity, in my opinion, to try and do something in the first team. And it's a shame that he hasn't got it yet. So I hope he gets it. I'd give him man of the match. And then the final question I've got for you: now pre-season is done. We've had ups, we've had downs, we've had raids from West Ham Fan TV on our live streams talking about fish tanks. We've had it all. What position? And this is obviously we might be doing a season preview. I don't know. I haven't spoken to Geo, but what position do you think we're going to finish this season?
Way to finish the video off negatively.
Just in a short way. Don't take too
long. Right now, after that performance, the way that the club is trending in terms of what's happening, no signings. Don't forget, if you believe by some, it's a flat market. Nobody's signing anybody. I think we're in trouble. I think we're in real trouble. I think if there are no signings before the end of this window and we go into the season with what we have, maybe we make some reinforcements. But it would not surprise me to see us either second from bottom or bottom by January. So I reckon, if I'm being optimistic, 16th or 17th, but in my heart of hearts, I'm just thinking 18th or 19th. I genuinely think come Christmas time, we're going to be in the bottom 3 because of just the way that the fixtures go for us. And there's just, if what today is a precursor for what happens at the start of the season, then there will just be no heart, no desire, no nothing. But for me, I don't want to be too negative because it is horrible. It's not nice to be constantly pessimistic about your club and be so down and angry all the time. But just obviously, like I said, I know you said keep it short, but it's so hard to with a topic like this. But before last night happened, I was not optimistic, but I wasn't as bad as I was after last night happened. And
sure.
It's the last 24 hours have completely changed the complexion of the entire season now for me, and I'm really worried. So yeah, I reckon bottom 3 by Christmas. If we're not lucky, then maybe 16th or 17th. But yeah, for me, I'm probably going to say, I've just thrown a lot of positions out, but I reckon we'll finish the season 17th or 18th. I think genuinely
fair. I don't know yet. I think it's all up to David Moyes. We have a manager who can be horrendous enough to get us relegated quite comfortably, but also competent enough to get us up to 14th in the league. I don't know which way it's going to go. I think it will be either one or the other.
Just quickly, because again, as we've said, flat market here. Wolves have just signed, as we've been doing this, Wolves have just signed Porto's 18-year-old wonder kid, Fabio Silva. If you played Football Manager, he's a wonder kid, as they say, for £35 million. So there you go.
But the market's flat. The market's flat. It's just what it is, isn't it? it's just what it is. The market's flat. Thank you everyone for watching and joining us, whether it's for this or for the watch along as well earlier. We really genuinely do appreciate it, watching the Betway Cup once again go into the hands of other people and not ourselves. If you're new around here, drop a subscribe and like if you've enjoyed it. Geo and Gonzo will be back, as I said. But yeah, cheers everyone. We'll see you for the preview of Newcastle.